All right, so those are the detection dogs. Those are, just dogs near and dear to my heart. I love how they work. I love what they do. But the other group of dogs I had mentioned were the service dogs, and I'm going to see if I can play a video for you. This is just a really fun video. It used to be on YouTube, but I don't think they had approval for the music they were using. So we'll see if it'll play here. No, it won't. Okay, I was afraid of that. It requires a special player to play. It was a really fun video where you can see what the dogs are doing. They're opening doors, they're turning on lights, they're taking off socks, they're helping zip up clothes, and it was just a lovely video of the things that you can train dogs to do. I've been inspired by that because I like to train tricks, and so it's inspired some of the crazy things I do with my own dog. But these dogs, again, are really important. I have a friend who's blind, and with her guide dog, she's come and talked to our veterinary students about what she expects from somebody who's examining her dog. And it's really important to remember, if they're blind, you don't, again, want to take the dog away from them. You've abandoned them, and you have to explain everything you're doing because they can't see what you're doing. And I remember she's really amazing, and she looks at me when I talk to her, and so I always nod my head, and I'm just like, that doesn't help her. So I forget that, and so thinking about how you have to adjust and how you have to be really careful, but you also have to recognize that the bond between these dogs and handlers is incredible, and these people know their dogs, and they rely so much on their dogs. So again, taking that into consideration is an important part of your job. One of the big things that we found with some of these assistance dogs is that there was, similar to the problems that they were having with some of the military dogs, is that there was some early retirement. There seemed to be a number of dogs that weren't able to work past 5 years. And again, you're investing almost $80,000 in a guide dog to train it to the point where it can provide that service. And so if it only can work for 2 or 3 years, that's a really expensive problem. And it's also a question of what are we doing wrong? What can we do better for these dogs? And so there was a study that was done looking at early retirement in these dogs. The majority of dogs are labs, although there's Goldens and German Shepherds, but there's no specific breed selection for who was retiring early. The average working lifespan of these dogs is somewhere between 7 and 8 years. Some dogs, my friend's dog is now 10 and continuing to work and loving it. So why would these dogs retire? Well, orthopedic issues are a problem. Now, interestingly, with the guide dogs, orthopedic issues can be related to obesity. There are many guide dogs that are actually overweight, and that's concerning. And so trying to educate them about the importance of good body condition. Some of these guide dogs, they are active and working all the time. Some of these guide dogs hang out, under the desk or at home with their handler and don't go out very often. So there's a huge spectrum. And so trying to maintain that fitness and that conditioning in these dogs is going to be important for a lot of those orthopedic problems. Skin and ear problems could be breed related. So allergies, particularly food allergies, might be something that are a problem. Cancer, for sure. And then the really strange thing about the incidence of genetic cataracts in some of the dogs that were being bred for guide, and they've really tried to work on eliminating that from the lines. So the top 10 reasons for retirement, well, top 5. Old age, that's great. We love that they can work until they're older, but the arthritis and some of the brain cancer, things like that, those are concerning. Is there something we can do genetically or physically to change that? But when we start talking about behavioral reasons, that's, again, something that we might be able to intervene on. If they've lost energy, if they become anxious, what we found out is that a lot of these guide dogs get attacked by other dogs when they're working. That's a really hard situation to be in because the dogs have no escape. You know, they are absolutely committed to their handler. If another dog comes up and acts aggressively, what are they going to do? It's a really traumatic incident for them, and it may lead to them not being able to work. Some of the dogs have poor behavior and also aggression. So again, a lot of that might be related to the handler not being able to look out for their dog and keep them out of a situation that might otherwise be threatening. So how does that impact what we do as veterinarians and our focus on the health? Well, we want to look at their selection. We want to help people choose the right dog. We need to screen these dogs, and we need to usually try and screen them early. How many people have heard of Penn Hip evaluation for hips? That's a really good way to evaluate, not just because it was from Penn, but because it gives us a quantitative measure, and it can be, we can do it as young as 4 months. So it really does allow us to impact the role of hip dysplasia. And if a dog is really in the low end of that, not very good hips, we may not want to go through with training of that dog. We want to clearly screen these dogs for genetic diseases. So any of the inherited diseases that might impact their working lifespan. We want to evaluate their cardiopulmonary system. We want to make sure if it's a protection dog that their dental health and their occlusion is good. Yeah. That's a great question. And that leads into the second talk of why we have the Working Dog Center, because it's really hard to find the good quality healthy dogs, and it's getting harder. And so we as veterinarians need to help sort of promote breeding for health, breeding for performance. That's kind of my mantra. We really need to encourage people to be very aware of that as they're breeding these dogs. We actually are. They hear parts of our story and not others, but they've been supporting our work. They've supported the 9/11 work, and they're actually supporting our DNA bank, which I'll talk about. So they understand that, and they really do believe that, you know, there is an opportunity here for us to improve breeds through selective breeding based on criteria that enhance performance and enhance health, and less focus perhaps on the breed standard of looks. But that's my bias. Flea and tick control, big deal, because all the infectious diseases and things, these dogs are out and about. They travel a lot too, so knowing what types of risks and exposures. Vaccinations, what are the core vaccines for these dogs? Are they the same as they are for other dogs? What do we know about that? For our search and rescue dogs, we have the standard AHA core vaccines, but we also recommend Lepto because of their exposure risks. There's not a lot of other vaccines that we recommend for them, but it's a big discussion that we have. Should we be doing prophylactic gastropexy on these working dogs? Personally, if I've got a female and I'm in there spaying her, I would probably recommend it. Now, maybe not for every breed, but for the shepherds, for the bigger chested, you know, heavier dogs, and if they have a history in their family lines, absolutely. I have never really heard of many breaking down, and you know, I think the military can, now that they've been doing this prophylactic gastropexy, can, you know, speak to the incidents. I don't know, Dana, do you have?
I haven't really heard of them failing. I do know that from literature that I've read, it's about 80% infected. That's not to say, look, if a dog gets a gastropexy, is it ever going to have a DV again? Maybe, but not likely. It's about 80% infected. I haven't really heard of any coming apart, so to speak. I'm not sure.
Comment?
Over what is involved in a prophylactic gastropexy?
Basically, and you can do it at a surgery, and it's just basically tacking the stomach to the body wall so it can't twist, or you can do it laparoscopically. You've got some beautiful, beautiful. Nutrition, so much we don't know about nutrition for working dogs. You know, that's an area that is ripe for investigation. Lots of things, and lots of people in those worlds have very specific ideas, and so we need to figure out, you know, what's the science behind it. And then the physical fitness and conditioning is an area that we're very, very interested in. Little exercises like this sit up and beg, what we call chipmunk, is something, you know, building core strength in these dogs. And I'll show you some of the exercises our puppies do.